On June 13th, 2024, the U.S. Department of Justice released their report into the Phoenix Police Department. The DOJ alleged that their pattern or practice investigation, which began on August 5th, 2021, quote, revealed systemic problems within Phoenix PD that deprive people of their rights under the Constitution and federal law, unquote. I reviewed the report, and I found another pattern or practice, but this one was on the part of the DOJ. I was fortunate to have had firsthand knowledge of some of the incidents that the DOJ had referenced, and something wasn't adding up. I, and many others, discovered that the DOJ seemed to mischaracterize incidents. This week, I want to do a recap of the incidents that I've already highlighted in other videos. I'm Steve Servalik, and although I am a panel attorney for ASCOPS, this week's video represents my own views, not necessarily the views of any organizations that I regularly represent. So, number one, the Jacob Harris incident. In this incident, the DOJ criticized the use of force against an armed suspect who pointed a gun at officers while fleeing. The Jacob Harris case is used as an example in the DOJ report as one of unreasonable force and delaying medical aid. In the report, pictured here, the DOJ failed to provide context or insight into why officers made any of their decisions, so we provided the context. We talked about how Jacob Harris had just robbed a fast food restaurant, and how he pointed a gun at officers, and how there were multiple suspects still in the car that needed to be taken into custody, and how it was nighttime, and, amazingly, how the case had already been taken to federal court and found to be completely justified. All things the DOJ failed to note in their report. 2. The James Garcia case. According to the DOJ, this was an example of Phoenix officers using poor tactics that resulted in a shooting. Officers responded to a call and tried to identify a man who barricaded himself in his car, then pulled out a handgun. Instead of retreating to cover, the police shot Garcia. The DOJ once again left out major pieces of information, specifically that the United States Supreme Court had already determined that poor tactics that lead up to an otherwise constitutional use of force cannot be the basis for finding a constitutional violation. And I'm not even saying that these tactics were actually poor tactics. So to have that case used as an example to back up the DOJ's claim that, quote, we identified unconstitutional shootings that likely could have been avoided absent officers' reckless tactics, end quote, seems to be an attempt to mislead the reader or shows an ignorance of the law. Either way, not a great look for the DOJ. 3. The Matthew Begay shooting. When analyzing a situation where officers responded to a group home, had a knife pulled on them by Matthew Begay, were approached by Begay with the knife out, gave warnings to Begay, tried to tase Begay, and after Begay continued to approach with a knife, ultimately, officers shot Begay. The DOJ said the following, quote, because the man was not physically aggressive, told officers he wanted to die, and never threatened the officers, the shooting was unreasonable, end quote. We showed excerpts from the body camera, and the camera speaks for itself. But according to the DOJ, if a person declares themselves suicidal, all future actions and decisions are given a pass, even if those actions are to close distance with an officer that's given you multiple warnings not to come closer. Once again, well-established Ninth Circuit and Supreme Court cases disagree with the DOJ. 4. The pepperball incident. The DOJ used an example of the Phoenix Police Department deploying pepper balls at an unarmed man as proof that the, quote, Phoenix Police Department default to unnecessary force and fail to call for specialized assistance when appropriate, end quote. This incident was used as an example of unreasonable force, failing to use mental health resources, and as an example of Phoenix highlighting excessive force as exemplary. The problem? There was virtually no force used against the man. What's more, the callers called from a mental health facility and were professionals themselves. The officers involved took the man to a higher level of care to be treated instead of to jail for disorderly behavior. It would be tough to find a better example of de-escalation and compassionate policing. 5. The domestic violence incident. The DOJ made a claim that the Phoenix PD used dangerous compression restraints against people experiencing behavioral health crisis who do not present a risk to officers or others. For their example, the DOJ used an example of a, quote, suicidal man who claimed to have stabbed himself with a nail file, end quote. Their one-paragraph synopsis paints a picture of a man in distress who's roughed up by law enforcement and loses consciousness in the process. They ignore the fact that the officers were told the man had just assaulted a woman and attempted to pull her into a car, that the man had taken a stepchild from his home and left while threatening suicide, that the man had a bladed weapon on his lap when officers found him, or that he fought officers when they attempted to restrain the man. The DOJ even claimed that after being placed into handcuffs, the man lost consciousness. Here's the thing, he didn't. He never claimed to have lost consciousness. He was even evaluated medically on scene by the fire department. The DOJ just decided that when he calmed down, it was from losing consciousness. In the end, the man was booked on multiple criminal charges and pled guilty. But reading the DOJ's account, you would think that the man was jumped by law enforcement for no reason. These are the 5 examples that we've done videos about. But they aren't the only examples, and more videos may be coming. I've seen comments that claim that I'm cherry-picking incidents. Those same people say, what about all of the bad incidents? There are close to 125 incidents in the DOJ report. Of those, so far, we've made videos of 5 of them. That's 4% of the incidents identified as purposely lying to readers. And for each video that we make, that number goes up. So ask yourself, at what point is the Department of Justice engaged in a pattern or practice of falsifying evidence, or deliberately misleading the citizens of Phoenix? Is it 10%? 20%? The Phoenix Police Department has hundreds of thousands of contacts each year, and nobody's perfect. But a pattern or practice of unconstitutional policing? I don't think there's evidence for that. And as community leaders and organizations delve into the evidence themselves, they are in agreement. Stay tuned for more. And if you want to gripe in the comments about how I'm cherry picking, go to the City of Phoenix's DOJ site and read through the incidents yourself. Watch the body camera, read the reports, and compare them to the DOJ's versions of events. I'll even add the link on the screen in case independent research isn't your strong suit. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like, follow, and turn on notifications. It really helps the channel grow. Be on the lookout for new videos. They come out every Sunday at 5:30 p.m. Arizona time. I'm Steve Cerbalic. Thanks for watching, and stay safe out there.
Negative.